Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Koen Dehaen. I'm one of the managing partners at RUPS Software. I've been that since 1997, or I've been there since 1997. I'm heading two big projects of ours, being the Carpass project and the J&J project, which are two, let's say, key accounts of us. On my day-to-day tasks, I'm doing enterprise architect, or I'm playing the role of enterprise architect within these applications or within these projects. And you can reach me at my email address. RUPS Software, it's located in Belgium, in Antwerp. It delivers business-driven, sustainable and customized solutions based on a service-oriented architecture. And we manage these with an agile approach. Scrum is known to us. We know how to do this and how to make our customers content with this. RUPS was founded in 1994, and we work with on and about 35 associates. And we work for Carpass, J&J, Janssen Pharmaceutica, DHL, Agmea, which is big in the Netherlands, Sanoma Media Belgium, Sapa, Syngenia, Suez. These are, let's say, our main references. This is our website. I think that's probably enough who I am. That's probably enough who RUPS is. But what brings us here? What brings us here is our experience with IText, which started since version 2.0. I didn't dare to put a date here because frankly I don't know the date anymore since when we started with IText, but it seems a long time ago, which is a good thing, I think. If you work with a project that long, then probably there's some good in it. We used it to create simple PDFs, very simple PDFs. We used it to create very complex PDFs. I think the largest PDF, and that's probably not the biggest PDF you can create with IText, that we ever created was something about 100 pages with images, QR codes, tables, what you have, landscape, portrait mode. And that was all developed by a Java developer in Java code. So we used no extra tooling for that. We use it to reorganize and watermark existing PDFs. So it's not only creating PDFs from scratch, but also manipulating PDFs which we get from customers, tearing out the signature pages, storing them separately, signing them, encrypting them, and stuff like that. We embed QR codes, images, and we complete, this is something we only do recently, and we complete PDFs templates, which will be, by the way, the topic of this talk. That's all done directly by Java code, and you don't need any extra tooling. Now, every time I say that, probably it's the same thing with the .NET, IText Sharp framework, but to be frankly, no experience there. But I've seen Paolo running here, so if you have any questions, you probably can ask that directly to him. What also brings us here is the Carpass project. I believe it's almost a year ago since we first talked about the Carpass project. We were looking for a tool there, to create these these PDF forms, we found out that IText was for us and for Carpass the ideal solution. Now, how it all started way back was with code like this. Now, I've put the link where you can find a lot of examples on how to start with IText on the bottom of the slide. I'm no IText employee, so I'm not going to try to sell a book here, but definitely if you want to take a look of how easy IText is, how easy you can start creating some PDFs, creating some PDFs with tables in there, creating or adding images to there, that's probably one of the better links you can find. This example here is also pasted from there. I didn't pay any royalties, so I hope I'm not getting sued by copyright. But this is actually the easiest way to create a PDF with Java. You open a document, you add a paragraph, you close your document. It's as easy as that. Now, starting from such code bases, we created templates like these. This is our timesheet, which we implemented. These things are hard to implement using templates. Although within IText you can create them very easily just from code. Here you see a table with backgrounds, You see different fonts, you see images. It's a PDF document created with IText. You see one of the documents we render for the Carpass project, by the way, which holds the history of a car and a graph. And we have complex layouts, complex forms. It's a keynote, so I can't scroll through this document. This document actually contains 21 pages. Pages with all kinds of orientation, pages with all kinds of fonts, pages with all kinds of content. All created by the IText core APIs. There's no extra tooling involved. Advantages here that we find of IText is definitely the fact that it's 100% Java. There's no native APIs, DLLs or jar files you need to register from third party. You can just develop in Java or .NET if you wish. It's 100% cross-platform. That will be harder to do in .NET, but it works within Java. There's no extra tools required. You just drop the jar and you're gone, or let's say you're started. And you have full control on the PDF structure. Up until now we had no requirement, or found no requirement, that we couldn't implement within IText. And that goes from putting data on a PDF up until putting charts on a PDF, putting signature fields on PDF, etc., etc. The big disadvantage though, of course, if you let your developer develop your PDFs, you don't have a template that you can manage. It's not that you can ship your template to your end user and say you can manipulate the fields, you can change a little bit the text, you can, I don't know, change the logo, send it to the server and render a new PDF. That's the big advantage. Up until, of course, we started working with acroforms. We definitely encourage the usage of IText, or the core of IText, when your document flow is straightforward, when you need to render a PDF document out of some data that you have, if you don't need to have extra emailing or whatever added. We definitely recommend it to you when the document structure is stable, so you don't need to send your document to the end user to change it, or when a PDF template is hard to build. We definitely have some cases where I wouldn't know how to start creating a template, or let's have it designed by an end user. That is all how we started. Let's start with the topic of the day, which is indeed the Carpass project, and how we use PDF templates, or what is called the acroforms. But before we start, let's introduce Carpass. I don't think, or I know that it doesn't exist in Germany yet. There's a beginning in the Netherlands, and there's definitely a sense within Europe to get systems like Carpass installed throughout, in this case, Europe. But it all started in Belgium. In Belgium, apparently, we have 750,000 cars that change hands on an annual basis. It's an average. But we in Belgium, and it's a small country, we have 750 cars that are sold every year. Automated reading is a big, or was a big problem in Belgium. A lot of garages, a lot of second-hand car sellers were turning back the automated readings. Estimates based on data we got from technical inspections, or from those estimates we know that probably it's a bit bigger than 60,000 automated reading frauds a year. And it's apparently an estimated value between 150 and 200 million euro a year. That means on average you can earn 3,000 euros extra on a car when you sell it, when you turn back the automated readings. That's what these numbers are saying. The consequences, I don't need to explain that to you. I do believe that you know what that's all about. Now the authorities and the automotive professional associations within Belgium, they joined hands and they came up with a legal framework. A legal framework to fight the automated reading fraud. Actually, what I'm talking about here is in the years 2005, 2006, because these numbers drastically decreased. Right now, I believe they're on about 1,500 known or expected automated reading frauds a year, which is a dramatic decrease. So what did they invent, or what was that legal framework they talked about, is the fact that they wanted to create a car pass for every car within Belgium. Every car that drives within Belgium has its own car pass. What does this mean? Is that that car pass, the legally binding document, which every car has, needs to be exchanged on the sales of a car. So if I drive a car and want to sell it to somebody else, I need to give the car pass of my car to the buyer. If I don't do that, the buyer has the right to refuse the sale and to ask his money back. What it shows is the history of odometer readings since its first registration. And that car pass is delivered, and not every Belgian drives around with a car pass in his car, it's delivered on the moment that the guy who wants to sell that car, so the seller of the car, goes to the technical inspection, because there's also something which is obliged in Belgium. You can't sell a car without the fact that it's technically inspected. So at that moment he gets that car pass. Now the technical inspection doesn't hold all these odometer readings, it's kind of private data. What Belgian law did was they created a non-profit organization to hold all that data. So what actually happens, and it's a bit right to left in this case, what actually happens is all professionals handling cars, garages, body shops, tire centers, Carglass we have in Belgium, but I don't believe you have that in Germany. But all people touching cars, all professionals touching cars, they're obliged or obligated to send their data, their odometer reading data of cars which they work on, to Carpass. So on a daily basis, they are sending their VINs, they are sending their vehicle identification numbers, or based on the VIN, they're sending the latest odometer reading which they read from the odometer and the date on which they read it to Carpass. And Carpass stores all this information. The moment that a seller, which is then the guy on the left bottom corner, the moment that that guy wants to sell a car, he goes with his cars to the technical inspection. The technical inspection asks to Carpass how the Carpass certificate, and Carpass renders that document on the fly. That's what Carpass is all about. These are some numbers, some statistics. They're not really readable, but just to give you an idea, since 2006 Carpass gathered 140 million odometer readings, and they gathered information on 20 million cars. In 2013 alone, they rendered 778,000 Carpass certificates, so it's a big higher, like the 750,000 which I spoke of earlier. And they gathered 14 million new odometer readings. Of those 20 million cars, still 6 million cars are active. So in Belgium, up and about, we have 6 million cars driving around, and for which Carpass is gathering all these odometer readings. The graphs on the right, I won't explain them in detail. If you want, you can read the annual report of Carpass, in which all these numbers are located or situated. But I just want to give you an idea of how big this project is and how important this is. Once, of course, to fight that fraud against with the odometer readings. Now, what was the Carpass project about, which we started almost a year ago? It is a complete rebuild of what they have now. In 2006, they had to create a platform within 6 months to register all these odometer readings and to be able to deliver these car passes. They scrambled something together, or they put something together which they have been maintaining for the last 8 years, which is running but asks for a lot of maintenance. Now they want to switch to a new platform, they want to switch to new servers, they want to improve and lower their maintenance cost. So they asked us to redevelop from scratch a new project, or what we call then the Carpass ESV2. And of course we need to keep into account the fact that performance, maintainability, scalability and such things, that we need to keep them into account. We all need to do that within 1 year, which is a big thing. And now Carpass is a big project, but in the end it needs to deliver that Carpass do the technical inspection on the moment that you as a seller go to that technical inspection and ask for that Carpass. So we need a fast and reliable tool to generate these certificates and some other PDF documents. Carpass is rendering some other PDF documents as well, but it's fairly small compared to the Carpass. We needed to have the Carpass template adjustable by the end user. They wanted to tweak with it, they needed that. And they needed to ensure us, or that we ensured them, that the footprint of that file was small. They need to send that over the internet to all these technical inspections. I can tell you by now out of experience that those technical inspections don't have broadband connections. So we needed to ensure that to them that those are very large broadband exceptions. We need to ensure them that the footprint of those files were small. And they wanted to improve their customer experience. The average customer of or the average recipient of a Carpass doesn't even know what the Carpass is all about. It's a legislation, something you need to get, but they wanted to improve that in, experience. And last but not least, they wanted to have a transparent and affordable license model. And that's what brought us to IText as a conclusion. Java still has no support for PDFs baked in natively, so we had to look for a tool. We compared some tools, suites and platforms. We compared it with IText, and we in the end chose IText. Why? It's lightweight. It gives us a full control of the PDF structure. You will see that you can go very low level into the PDF structure. We had the ability, thanks to the Acro forms, to manage all of this with PDF templates, or what we call PDF templates. In the end, they're Acro forms. And you can do that very easily with tools, standard tools like Acrobat Pro, but this is definitely not the only tool that you can use to create an Acro form. It's scalable. It was easily integratable with SOA architectures. We did have one support ticket with running in regards to OSGI, but I can confirm that IText 5.5 as of now is also OSGI compliant. It has support for QR codes baked in, and we managed to decrease the speed or increase the speed of the generation of a Carpass to 90 milliseconds. And this is not on production hardware yet. This is on our testing platform, which is not nearly as big or as performant as a production hardware. Just to give you an idea, currently it takes them 1 second and even more to create that document. And of course, we also chose for IText because of the known track record, the things we did with it, the experience we had. Now, time for some action. This is how we create these templates. This is a screenshot of Acrobat Pro, and we just use the Acro form ability of Acrobat. So we create a lot of placeholders or form fields in it where you can set things like fonts and styles and what you have. We create texts. In this case, it's a Dutch template. You can put texts on it, etc., etc. It's a standard Acrobat form, what you have here. Now, what we do with it, with code, is we complete it with those 3 lines in bold. The rest is opening the file, closing the file, and doing some general Java IText stuff. But what we do is we get the Acro fields from the stamper, and we inject our variables in there. There's one object missing here for those who read Java very quickly, is that model object which you have here. So that model object will be explained in the next slide, but the model object is nothing more than a hash map with key value pairs. So the only thing is we get a model object or a map from our business object, and we inject that within the Carpass or in the PDF template. This is also an important thing. We form flatten the Acro fields, because otherwise those variables I've shown you earlier, or those form fields which I've shown you earlier, they're actually text fields which you can edit. If you don't flatten the form, the end user can change the values. That's of course not what you want in this case. So we flatten the form. This is a little thing we use of an Apache Commons API, which is called beanutils. Actually, the method we use comes from Stack Overflow, which is a little extension on the beanutils API. But what this does is it does nothing more than the Carpass object, which you see here, which is a real Java object. It recursively describes, or it serializes that object into a map. So the result of this call is actually a hash map with key value pairs, which you see below. This makes it very easy for us to inject these variables into the PDF template. So even for a developer, it's not that much work. The only thing we do is we render the Java object into a hash map, we inject the fields into the PDF template, and we're done. So I can't show you much lines of code because we don't need that much lines of code. Now they also wanted to improve the customer experience. A lot of these customers who get for the first time a Carpass, they don't know what to do with it. They get some data on a nice sheet of paper because it's an official document, but they don't know what they need to do with it. So we actually talked about putting a QR code on there, a QR code which leads them to a verification page. These days, a lot of people, I think even my wife runs with an iPhone these days, and she has a QR code on her scanner on her mobile device. She has no use for it, but whenever she sees a QR code, she checks it in and she gets something. So we talked with Carpass, wouldn't it be a good idea that we could build verification in there with a QR code? Just the fact that you can go with your mobile phone over your Carpass certificate, that it would go to the Carpass website and verify your Carpass certificate. That would be a big improvement because people would know what the document is about, and they would know with a few simple gestures whether it was still a valid certificate. From code, even that I can't tell you much about. It's that single line of bold text which you have here, which creates the QR code. The QR code which you see on the right hand side of the screen is actually generated by that line of code. The only thing which you then need to do is position your QR code on the document, and you're done, which is actually more code than creating the QR code itself. Now, this is all pretty simple, this is all pretty high level. You don't need to know much about PDF structures or PDF formats to be able to do this. Now, Carpass also gives the power to you to go very low level and to really dive into the PDF structure. Personally, I don't think this is for the faint of heart because you can ruin your whole document with a few lines of code. But we had the issue there that all of a sudden, by using different PDF templates, that our PDF template grew into a file of 3 megabytes. Now I can tell you the current Carpass templates are about 60K, I think, or 70K. Telling the customer that all of a sudden their files grew into files of 3 megabytes wasn't that easy, so we didn't do that. So we reached out to support of IText again, telling them, look, we have a funky, crazy file. It was the PDF template we've shown you earlier. It's not a big file, there are no images in there, it's pure text, but it was 3 megabytes. So after some debugging, which they did by using the RUPS tool, which everybody spoke about earlier, they were able to see where in the PDF structure it went wrong. So they very easily created some code for us to see to it that those things never happened again. So within PDF structures or within IText, you can go into the PDF structure and in this case remove fonts from places where they don't belong. So I've seen talks today, or I was listening to talks where IText was talking about embedding fonts. The thing we're doing is getting them all out. We're using Verdana. Verdana is installed on every laptop, so we don't need that font embedded, and we definitely don't need to send that font over the wire for 750,000 times a year. That's absolutely absurd. So this code, and I leave it up to the IText guys to explain it, this code gets rid of all your fonts out of a certain element in your tree where they don't belong in this case. I'm not going to explain this. This is the RUPS tool. One complaint though, because on a Mac, I don't know whether that's solved by now, but definitely maybe I need to create another support ticket for that, but on a Mac it doesn't run. Seeing is believing, that's one of our project managers who always tells that to me, so I'll show it to you how it works. Now I don't have that much time left, so I will do it very, very quickly. So we have that Carpass template sitting here. It's the Dutch version. So with Acrobat Pro, you can very easily change this. And so you need to know how to work with it a bit. I can't say that Acrobat is the most easy tool to use, but you can very easily shift these things around. You can go to the properties, you can change fonts, and sometimes it takes ages. You can change fonts, you can make things bigger, etc, etc. You can do all these things within Acrobat Pro or other tools. I'm not married nor receive any money from Acrobat. So when you do that, you can very easily within your code load that Carpass template, which we do here. And so this thing just returns the PDF template, the location to the PDF template. This line of code actually returns a Carpass object to me. I don't have any database hooked up, so I just mocked an object. So in this case it's a Carpass. It has a VIN, it has an address, it has a certificate number, it has lots of fields, lots of data. So all this data I just mocked for now, but it will be returned in the template. So maybe I should change this car, I don't know, to a Volvo. I don't know anything of cars, so it could be even that this model doesn't exist. But maybe I should also increase the value of a Carpass. Voila. So I get this object back from the database, get my PDF template. The only thing I need extra is the file where I want to store the completed template, because of course I don't want to ruin my template. I want to use that over and over again. And then the only thing I need to do is render the Carpass. And as told before, it isn't that hard. You open your input streams and your output streams, so you open the connection to your template. You open up the connection to the location where the file needs to stay. You convert your object from your database, or wherever it comes from, into a hash map. In this case, we call that object a model, and we get the acro field. So we get all the fields from the acro form that we put on the Carpass template. The only thing that we need to do then is populate it, and as of then we have a document. If we close it, of course, we have a document containing all the values. If we want to add the QR code in there, we create that QR code and we position it on the document. So in this case, and this is a bit tricky, this is what you have if you develop it. You need to find the correct locations, but that's not that hard. We form flatten to get rid of all the acro fields, the fact that they are editable when you open them up. Our footprint needs to be small, so we ask IText to compress wherever it can and remove all embedded fonts. If we then close the thing, we should have a fully rendered document. My directory of renderings is empty, so I should be able to just run it. Actually, you see here, for instance, that we are indeed removing 3 fonts, being Helvetica, Batang, and ZIDB. And we get indeed a file, and it's a bit smaller than I believed, voila, of 40K. So I believe the current files are about 60 or 70K, I don't know it by heart anymore. And right now we manage to render a Carpass certificate, including an image, because that's not in there right now, for 40 or less than 40K. So that's what we're doing with Carpass. And it's indeed the Volvo S60 right now on €8 a piece. Voila. That's what I had to, that's what I wanted to tell you today. That's what I had on my mind, on my agenda to tell you today. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I've put the code on GitHub if there is any interest. But as you see, it's no rocket science. It's merely a few lines of code. If there are questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But otherwise, thank you for your attention. It's a PDF. No. That's because we could encrypt it. IText allows us to encrypt it or to protect it against any changes. But those technical inspections which I talked to you about earlier, they're trusted parties. They don't have any advantage in changing that document, so they don't tamper with that. So we, in our analysis during the project, we just, together with the customer, decided not to encrypt these documents. Now what happens actually, and I'll show you, but I'll have to go back. So those technical inspections do that. What they do is, and by the way, their system doesn't allow them to change it, but they could. The system will print it on that paper and the original PDF is thrown away. So we don't keep these PDFs laying around. We keep them for a few hours, but that's it. So whenever the document is printed, that's the document, the hard copy, the paper copy, is the only original there is. And the technical inspection is a trusted party, so we trust that party to handle the document with care. Communication lines, of course, are encrypted, are secured, so nobody in the middle can do something bad with them. But we could. We don't do it, but we could.